So I just got back from the Northeastern wrestling practice, and I'm not going to say what happened at practice because that's really lame and weird, and like, why would you be like, oh, da, 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 but like, I feel really good. Feels very good. Feels very validating of my theories on grappling training and movement and studying matches at a high level, like just common sense stuff, like improve your movement, improve your strength, improve your mobility, improve your ability to move your body through planes of motion with athleticism and precision. Then study the movements that win. Then do that. Feels good. It just feels good to like go to a wrestling practice and like have a good time wrestling and like not get my ass completely kicked. Cause like, I'll just say that. I'll just say I didn't get my ass kicked completely. Cause to say anything more would be really weird and braggy about a practice session. I'll talk a little bit about that for a second, because that can actually be a really good focal point for the video. The reason I'm not going to say what happened at practice, though I will say that I feel good about it, because I mean, I could have felt bad about it. I could have gone and been like, oh my God, I like puked. Actually, almost puked once, because it's hard. But like, it'd be like, oh, I puked, and like, everyone just beat me up, and nothing I did worked. And I'm like, oh my God, like, that's a possibility. Because I haven't wrestled and done folk style wrestling in 5 years. Let me see, I'm 26. Holy cow, I haven't done folk style wrestling in 6 years. 7 years, really. I mean, that's even just counting the dabbling I did in college. Really, I haven't done folk style wrestling in 8 years. I haven't done it since I was 18. I just done jiu-jitsu since then. But jiu-jitsu is grappling, and it feels good that my jiu-jitsu grappling, it still works, man. Like, I'm kind of like, it's not jiu-jitsu, so it's like, but it's like I was able to make a good show with jiu-jitsu grappling adapted for wrestling with the knowledge of being a former, still current wrestler. I mean, I still love wrestling. And, yeah, but I'm not going to talk about it because it'd be weird though. Like, let's say, and for technical reasons, like, it's kind of crap to like talk about like, oh, like I did this and this and this in practice. Cause it's like, those are people, and like those people will hear about that, and then they'll be like, oh, really? And it's like, well, then I could have like kicked your ass harder. And it's like, well, then I could have kicked. Like, that's what tournaments are for. That's what matches are for. Practices for getting better. If you want to see what happens at practice, show up to practice and do the practice yourself. Like, there's really no talking about it, because that would be like, it wasn't like, you know what I mean? Like, it's practice. Like, it's just, but one thing I will say though is I think that live wrestling should be done at the beginning of practice and not at the end of practice, because it's like, you're exhausted. Like, I feel like live is like the first thing you should do. You should do your live rounds, and then you should work on what you need to work on. And I feel like this doing everything else first is like really holding back American grappling. This is just my personal opinion, which is backed by 11 years of competitive experience and winning experience in grappling across three different grappling sports, because gi, no gi, and wrestling. I guess 4, because gi, no gi, college wrestling, and folk style, and high school wrestling, because it's slightly different rule sets. That maybe it's the same. I mean, whatever though. But like, just little old me with my like hundreds of competitive matches and hundreds of wins, like whatever. Disregard what I say. But yeah, doing all the live rounds at the end of practice is, I think, very silly, because you're fresh at the beginning of practice. You should be fresh at the beginning of a match. And then I was wondering, I was like, does this all come from some folk style tradition of like learning how to wrestle exhausted, because then you're not afraid of getting tired in a match? And I don't really think so, because I think that, like, I don't know, I don't train to do that at all. And I actually was exhausted when I was doing my live rounds, and I did fairly well. And it's like, being exhausted is being exhausted, and I don't want to be exhausted, so I don't know why I'm training that way. I don't train that way. Don't encourage training that way. But yeah, go to training, go to practice, find out what happens at practice. Enjoy grappling arts and train well. And if you train well, you can go to a wrestling practice and not puke your guts out, even if you don't wrestle regularly.